Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Inside Spurs. Hope you're enjoying your Monday, whatever it is that you're doing, you're working, you're just enjoying a bit of the sun, you're at the pub, you're playing a bit of golf, whatever it is. I hope you're enjoying it and you're being safe. We've got a video really discussing some transfers today. We have obviously an old link in Gift Orban. We'll be talking a little bit about him. We're talking about a trio of Galatasaray players as well as kind of an update as to what we're trying to look at in regards to those players. But also we're going to be talking a little bit about the season so far. Obviously playing 8 games already in the league, playing a game in the Carling Cup or the EFL Cup or the League Cup, whatever you want to call it. We'll be talking a little bit about the league so far and just kind of discussing where we go from here. Okay, because obviously we're going into the international break now, and I think it's a great time to reflect on the season so far as a whole. And I'm not going to predict about what the future may look like, but going into a busier period of the league coming up with obviously other international breaks as well. Playing a little bit more. When you think about Christmas in the Premier League, you start to play a little bit more often. Obviously the FA Cup comes around in the new year, so just sort of talking about a little bit more the future as we get into the middle of autumn, because we are technically in autumn now, sitting on October 9th. We're going to be getting into some more interesting fixtures with the weather changes. But let's talk about the season so far. So, look, we are sitting top of the Premier League. I don't think any one of us would have expected to be playing top of the league when you think of how we have done this season, with games at home to Manchester United and Liverpool, playing away at the Emirates against Arsenal, playing some difficult games, away from home, first game of the season, London derby against Brentford. And to kind of think about it, we have come out at the end of that sort of 8-game spell in terms of just the league so far, quite unscathed. We haven't really dealt with too many crazy injuries. We know we've got players that are dealing with knocks, but we haven't had, a main starter go out for a few weeks. Yes, we've had injuries to Mauro Solomon. Yes, Brennan Johnson's had a bit of a hamstring issue. But we haven't really sat there and gone, I tell you what, we've got a list of injuries to the key guys. Your Madisons, your Romeros, your Van der Vens, your Vicarios, your Sonnies. We haven't got that. And yes, I know first game of the season, Romero goes down with a bit of a concussion, but he's okay for the next game when we play Manchester United. So when we think about how we've done this season, no complaints. I don't think a Spurs fan would really complain about how we've done this season to go 8 games undefeated, 6 wins and 2 draws. But when you look at the bigger picture, and I always try not to look at the league table until, probably mid-November, maybe into early December. I know other fan channels love looking at the Premier League table. They go, I tell you what, if they slip up here and we win that, maybe we jump, then we drop them a little bit more, we do this, we do that. I'm not really interested in that, because you know what? You've got to play everyone twice. So does every other team, home and away, you play them all twice. When we think early December, we're at the Etihad. City might not have looked great yesterday, but when you're thinking about who they've got out injured at the moment, quite key players. If you're missing 2/3 of your midfield, and the 2/3 of that midfield is the better 2/3 of Rodri and De Bruyne, you're not going to be the same team. So when we think about where we are as a club, though, more importantly than Man City or Arsenal or Liverpool or Man United, whoever you want to think about, when we look at us right now, we're sitting in a very healthy position. We're not chasing anyone. And to be honest, we're not even chasing the league. We're chasing good football, a brilliant system of defending and attacking through Ange Ball, who we call up Ange's system. And we just every week just want to get that a little bit better, because we've had years of pragmatic, quite defensive football. To change that all and to bring in an attacking, high press, high intensity football is a lot to do. Yes, playing once a week I think might help that. Yes, not having many injuries is going to help that. Yes, bringing in players that suit that style of football, yes, will help that. But you still have to put it into action. You still have to get the buy-in. And had we lost maybe 3 or 4, do you still have that buy-in? Maybe not. Yes, we've obviously got some great results. We think of Man United at home, then away to Bournemouth, then away to Burnley. Winning 3 games in a row. Drawing at home, drawing away to Brentford first game of the season. Obviously drawing at the Emirates. Beating Liverpool, beating Luton. It's it's been a difficult start. You think we've played more games? We've played some pretty big boys in that period. You know, Arsenal sitting second in the league. Liverpool are doing quite well this season. Yes, Man United maybe not, but Man United have been a bit of a bogey team. So I'm going to consider them a big boy in regards to us because they are a bit of a bogey team for us, as are Liverpool, as is the Emirates. You know, and I think a lot of us would have looked at Luton last week and gone, look, we've gone down to 10-minute 0-0 at half-time, basically. Would you have expected to win that game? Probably not, because it's not the Spurs way. And that's the thing that's changed mostly under Ange, is the way we prepare, but also the way we look at games. The way we can decipher every single situation and act accordingly. Okay, we've gone down to 10 men. Okay, well, we're going to be a little bit more on it when it comes to defensive ability. But, you know, when we get the ball, we need to use it, and we need to use it properly. We need to use it efficiently. We need to not make mistakes when we have the ball. You know, can we get it into space? You know, can we stretch the Luton team a little bit more? Okay, yeah, we did that. But when you're playing against a 9-man defence or a 10-man defence at times of Liverpool, how do you break a team down that is so compact and happy for you to whip balls in when they've got 3 centre-halves playing? Okay, that's difficult. But each situation requires man management, and each situation requires that sort of level of coaching to say, look, situational football. They talk about it in American football all the time. Situational football. Are you prepared for what is about to happen? You know, in American football, are you prepared for this field goal? You know, are you prepared to defend this fourth down? You know, in football or in rugby, even rugby, it'd be like, are you prepared to defend this scrum? Are you prepared for this line out? You know, in football, are you prepared for this free kick? Are you prepared for if this happens, then we go like this? You know, plan B, C, D, and E, right? And I think, yeah, maybe Liverpool, we weren't as prepared because we kind of, you know, all guns to the horses, all flying. It's about just trying to put balls into the box and praying something somehow gets to go your way. We didn't think it would, but it didn't in the end. So let's look at really the bigger picture. Look, after this international break, obviously we play Fulham is the first game, then we've got Palace straight after. We know Basuma misses that first game, regardless of how international breaks go. We know he misses that first game because of obviously the 2 bookings and the sending off. Okay, what happens from there? Are we prepared? Is Højbjerg stepping in? Is it Skip? Is it Pape Matar playing in that position? Are we putting in Lo Celso? What are we doing? That's a key thing that obviously Ange will be thinking about for now, for the next foreseeable future before we all come back to training ahead of that game. You know, are we prepared in terms of that game situationally that, look, if they get a goal, how do we break them down? How are we prepared for that? Do we change the way we look? Does Son go out left? Does Richarlison go through centre? You know, is Brennan Johnson back in the starting team? Is Brian Hill maybe going to get some minutes to start? Who knows? But I think when we look forward to these next few games, when you think, well, look, we've got Fulham, we've got Palace, we've got Chelsea. Yes, Chelsea have actually kind of hit a little bit of form, which, you know, we none of us have known really for over a year. But if we look at those 3 games, okay, Palace away is never an easy game, no matter who you are. Chelsea at home, Chelsea have been a bit of a bogey team for us for a while. You know, regardless of form, and we all know when it comes to derbies, regardless of form, it's all about who can play on the day. If we can go 3 wins out of those 3 games, which, you know, look, they're all pretty much London derbies, we need to look at that and go, okay, well now, you know, we're still undefeated. We're probably still sitting at the top of the table. Okay, well now instead of being 8 games in, we're 11 games in. Okay, how are we looking now? Do we have injuries? Do we have suspensions other than Basuma? What's the situation? So that's really interesting. I mean, the other things we talk about is how the youth teams are doing. Well, the youth team, we know there's certain players that have done very well. You know, obviously Alejo Veliz was with the youth team for a little while, getting back from injury, getting sort of acclimatised to English football and English weather. You know, he did quite well. You know, Jamie Donnelly's done very well. Iago Santiago's done very well. You know, I'm not going to go through the whole youth setup. You know, there's been a lot of great players coming through that. How do we maybe transition them into the first team or into the first team squad? Maybe they don't start, but maybe they get 10, 15 minutes here and there. Which I think, look, if let's say we play Fulham and we're 3-0 up, you've got 10 minutes to go, go on, throw one on, see what he's about. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We're still going to hold on to that win and everything, but we want to see them. Yeah, maybe if Veliz gets 25 minutes, you know, football and actually gets a bit more time because he's not really had an opportunity to get game time, really, even though he's come off the bench. look at the situations. We're just lumping balls into the box. There's no seeing him how he builds up play. You know, the other one is, well, we're down to 10 men against Luton. Long balls, just try and win them and flick them on. It's not his complete game, you know. So there's that. But when you look at the youth setup, they're all doing very well. You know, the top of the league. You know, after last season not doing so well, this season doing a lot better. It's a very good sign. You know, when we look at most impactful signings, you know, we think of Mickey van der Ven, we think of Destiny Udogie. Well, Destiny was last year, but we think of Vicario. I think Vicario's been fantastic. I think Mickey's been fantastic. I think Destiny's been fantastic. I think Pedro Porro's come on leaps and bounds. But James Madison is the guy, right? You know, when I was looking at Squawka and their and their sort of statistics, you know, James Madison in the Premier League this season has the most passes into the box at 106, most chances created, 25 chances, and most assists, 5 assists this season. He's been a revelation. He's been so important to this team. You can see without him on the pitch, we're a hell of a lot more defensive. True. Maybe that's better when we need to be defensive, but we're a hell of a lot less creative, which is such a key thing. You know, when we look at some other stats, you know, since the start of last season, obviously playing last season at Leicester, the most goals and assists away from home in the Premier League since then, he is second only to Erling Haaland, you know, by 1 in terms of goal and assist contributions. He's on 18, Haaland's on 19. So he's had a really key hand in us being the team who we are. Now he's dealing with a bit of a knock, and maybe he's not the same Madison as the first few games because he's not, you know, 100%. Hopefully, maybe he comes back with a little bit of rest from international break, because normally what happens is you play one game, you normally rest for the second, unless your name's Harry Maguire or Harry Kane, and you know Gareth Southgate just licks your boots. But in Madison's role, okay, maybe gets a game's rest, and maybe he gets a bit of a week away from playing first team football. When we look at, you know, expected goals after week 8, you wouldn't think Spurs are sitting at first. You know, we're sitting at first by, 1.5. That's quite a lot in terms of XG, you know, expected goals. We're sitting there just under 17 at 16.95. Second is actually Brighton at 15.53. You know, it shows that we are creating so many opportunities. We should be scoring probably even more than we have, you know, but it shows such a different level of Spurs, you know. Anyway, let's talk some chances, because I think that's probably why most of you have clicked on here, and I won't blame you if you have clicked on here, and that's why, but we're going to talk about chances now, so don't worry. We're going to start with Ekrem Kanur, who actually has talked about a former, still current, striker of interest of Gift Orban, the 21-year-old striker from Gent. So he says that Tottenham and Arsenal continue to be linked with Gift Orban. He hasn't really had the season like last year, you know. When we look at his 2022-2023 season, he obviously scored a lot of goals. You know, he's in 10 games in the league, he scored 9 with 2 assists, more than a goal or assist per game. He scored 5 in the Conference League. He scored 6 in the Pro League Europe playoffs. We're talking in all competitions, you know, 22 games, he scored 20 with 2 assists. It's a goal or assist every single game. So he had a fantastic season last year. Now, but when we look to this season, I think what I would say is I do actually think the rumours of moving does obviously kind of screw with the player a little bit. As much as, you know, you go, no, I'm focused, I'm ready for the weekend, I'm ready for this. You're also kind of speaking to your agent like there's only updates, you know, especially if you do want to leave, and especially if you're not in a top 5 league and a top 6 club in England are interested in you, you're kind of like, what's going on there? What's happening? Are we progressing? Are we still chatting? What is it? He's not had a terrible season this year, not whatsoever, but, you know, 14 games, he scored 6 goals. So there is a drop-off there. You know, he's only scored 2 in the league in 8 games. You know, in the qualifiers of the Conference League, he actually scored 4 and 5, so he was back to his normal self. But he hasn't really done it in the league so far this season. I don't know with Gift. I think there was still a lot of interest. I still think there will be interest. You know, look, he's 21 years old. By next summer, he'll be 22. You know, he's fairly reasonably priced. You know, transfer market has him at 20 million euros. He's fairly reasonably priced. But there does seem to be a dip in form. And I think that definitely is going to make the Spurs hierarchy a bit more aware of it. Now, if Ange obviously goes, look, I want him. That's that. You know, let's not beat around that bush. But if Ange is looking at it going, God, yeah, it really has had a drop off, hasn't it? You know, and I think we'll care more about it come, you know, December time, where we're starting to gear into the opening of that market. if he hasn't really progressed on to, I'm not saying he needs 1 and 1 or anything like that, but he's sitting less than a goal every 2 games. If he's, let's say, one in every, it's not in every 2, but maybe it's like 1 in every 1.5. Okay, he's had a massive turnaround. Maybe they say he'll take the punt. Don't know. It's interesting. An update around a trialist that's actually having a try at Spurs at the moment. This comes from Samuel Seaman, who's a sports journalist and a specialist for the Norwich City Reporter. He put out that the Norwich City prospect Dylan Thompson, currently on trial with Spurs, with a view to signing for the Premier League, the Norwich City would receive compensation due to the amount of time he's spent with the club. Look, I don't know a ton about him. I'm not going to sit here and say, look, he's this kind of guy. He plays like this, does that. But it's interesting, we are definitely hearing more and more about the players who are youth players that we're definitely having an eye on. Maybe he's another one that adds to that list, and maybe, he comes into the Spurs setup, learns the Spurs way, and maybe he transitions into the first team squad. And I think a lot of Spurs fans would like to see some of the guys in the youth setup transfer into the main squad. It doesn't mean they have to play every single week in 90 minutes here and there, but if we can kind of get 1 or 2 in this season who can play, good minutes, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour here and there, maybe a couple of starts here and there, I think that would be the most exciting thing. I think the guy I'm looking at most is Donnelly, personally, for me. I think he's had a great season so far, and yes, he's been on the bench before, but hopefully in the next couple of months we get to see a little bit of him, personally, for me. Obviously you might think it's someone different, but for me that's the guy I'm looking at a little bit at the moment. Fingers crossed. But let's talk about the Galatasaray situation. So yes, we obviously have a good relationship with Galatasaray after the Ndombele and Sanchez deals in the summer that's just been. This comes from Photosport, who said that Tottenham Hotspur plan to send scouts to watch Galatasaray versus Bayern Munich later this month in the upcoming Champions League group stage. The club are particularly keen on signing Sasha Bowie and Victor Nelson. Now, I've gone through both of those players in a bit more detail in previous videos. Go back and have a look if you do want to. I'm not going to do it here. Interesting players who are of that age where coaching is still so crucial to their development. And we've seen with Ange, if he can get his arm around you and he can get some coaching through to you, you develop as a player. Every player in that Spurs squad that we've seen play football this year, all have developed. We even looked at Davison Sanchez and go, he can play out from the back again. But what's happened here? Maybe that helped him get his move to Galatasaray, I don't know. But you looked at Emerson Royal, first game of the season, scoring a goal, had God knows how many touches of the ball. We looked at Vicario and how he's developed this season. Mickey van der Ven and Destiny Udogi's relationship on the left-hand side developing so much. Even Romero, I think, has taken it up another level into being the leader of the defence. Basuma, obviously, we hadn't really seen that Basuma. Maybe that's naturally who he is, but I think Pape Matasar's improved. I think Sonny's returned back to pre-injury form from last year. So all these things, I think, if Ange can get his way, he's going to help you. The other one I was looking at, and I saw this from Photosport via Goal, was that Tottenham are monitoring Galatasaray and Turkish winger Kerem Aktürkoğlu. Okay, now going to go through a little bit about Kerem and who he is as a person. So Kerem Aktürkoğlu, he is a 24-year-old. He turns 25 on the 21st of October. So actually, in 12 days, he does turn 25. So still hasn't hit his prime, which is what Spurs want. They want to get you before your prime so you can offer many years, and also we can have many years of coaching you and making you better. His main position is of the left winger variety. He's played for Turkey 22 times with 4 goals. His contract does expire in the summer of 2026. So when we look at the season so far for Galatasaray, for Kerem, he's actually played quite a lot of football already this season. He's played in 16 times across the Turkish League, the Champions League qualifiers, and the Champions League itself. He scored 5 goals in those 16 games, also with 7 assists. So 12 goal contributions across 16 games as a winger. Fantastic. In the league itself, he's played 8 times, scored 3 and assisted 5. So he's already got a goal or assist contribution every single game whilst playing in the league. Very interesting player. I was looking at transfer market, only value him at 17 million euros. So again, it's of that variety of age. Not only can you coach him into his prime, but he's not going to set the bank balance back heavily compared to, big money move. And that's where Spurs are. Spurs aren't going to make a 60, 70, 80 million pound signing in January. And I got asked this by a friend yesterday, actually, when I was watching the Brighton Liverpool game. I think it was at half time. And he said he's a Brighton fan. He was talking about Spurs, and he had a Spurs fan tell him, would you sit there as a Spurs fan and want one signing for 80 million, or would you want three signings for, 20, 25 each? And I said to my friend, I'd want the three signings. I think we've seen this year the lack of depth we have. And if we get 2 or 3 injuries, what does that translate to? Now, if you've got, obviously your keeper, backup keepers, Fraser Forster, you'll have Emerson Royale on the bench, you'll have Lo Celso, Brian Hill, maybe a Brennan Johnson, Alejo Valise. You can think, okay, there's some options there. Well, we need another centre half. We've got Eric Dyer on the bench. We need a centre half. Okay, well then there you go. Boom. There's one that we should be looking at there. Maybe it's Victor Nelson. Okay, well there's one. What else could we do with? Maybe another defender. Well, maybe Ryan Sessegnon is what we look at as a backup left back. You sort of Ben Davies, who's got that versatility. Okay, we need a centre mid. Højbjerg might be going. Well, you got Bentancur in, but they're still thinking about Conor Gallagher. Maybe Conor Gallagher's on that list. Maybe Gift Orban's still on that list. Whatever it might be. I think we sit there and think, well, if we've got Brennan Johnson and Richarlison on the left wing, you've got Kulusevski and Brian Hill for the right wing. The striker, you've got Sonny and Alejo Valise. If Alejo Valise takes off and does really well, fantastic. If he doesn't, do you look there? In the midfield, a couple of injuries, and you could be sitting there going, hang on a second, we're playing Madison, Skip and Højbjerg. That's not enough. That's not what we need. And that's why I think Bentancur coming back is going to add another layer to that midfield. But if you're moving off of the midfielder, it'd be good to bring another one in of a Bissouma variety. Now, I also think, personally, Bissouma plays centre defensive mid. You could have maybe a Pape Matar playing in that position. Maybe that's the backup for that role. Maybe you go and get a box-to-box midfielder to give Bentancur some rivalry for his position. Maybe does Bentancur play the 6? I don't know. But I think you do, depending on Lo Celso, need a number 8 to sit behind Madison. Now, I think Lo Celso will stay. I think he'll get some good minutes and he'll be enough of the creative variety that allows us to kick on. We've seen it in big games. Lo Celso can deliver very well. But I think if you're going to lose a midfield, you need to bring one in. You need to bring in a centre-half for sure. I think fullbacks, I'm happy with what we've got, unless you think Emerson is not enough and we need to get someone more like a Pedro Porro variety. Maybe you think Sessegnon or Davies is not enough. We need left-back. But you're not going to fix everything in January. You're going to get 2 signings in January, personally, maybe 3. And that will be you to the summer. And that might be enough for us to be top 4, contenders. And, we get you Champions League football next year. And then the summer becomes so crucial that you spend the money, not spending huge sums of money, but you spend the money to fill out the rest of the squad. There you go. You have a squad now that's Ange's boys. They're ready to kick on, continue to be a top 4 club, continue to fight for everything else like Ange talks about. And that might be it. I don't know. Be interesting to see what happens. But that was just a bit of a review and a bit of a transfer chat about things that are going forward. It's an interesting time heading into the international break. Anyway, guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you did enjoy this longer one. I'm sitting at 23 odd minutes at the moment. Drop a like on the video if you did. Hit me in the comment section below about your thoughts and feelings about the season so far as a whole. What you think comes after the international break and what you think we need to look at in January. But also, we've obviously looked at Gift Orban. We've looked at the 3 lads from Galatasaray. Let me know what you think about that situation as well. I'm interested to see what you think. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Very much on the road to 1400. So please do subscribe if you're new. Doesn't hurt. I promise. I promise it doesn't hurt. Hit the bell notification for more. But anyway, guys, that's the end of the video. I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care, guys.